Gina. I know it's been a long time since I have posted on this channel. Most people know I have a beginner's channel called GGC's Beginning Beaters, and I do that channel a lot more than I've been doing this one. I've had some life changes that have made it difficult for me to do both channels. So I've elected to do the beginner's channel more because the designs and stuff take a little less time. And at this point, I don't have a lot of time because my mother was diagnosed with leukemia, and I have quit my job and I stay home so that I can help her and take her to all of her appointments and do all the things that are necessary. So what I have done is I have kind of gravitated over to the other channel, and I've started a website so that I can still make a little money because I am not of retirement age and I was not ready to retire. So I opened a website with the help of Shirley from Budget Beads. She was a big, huge help with that. And I make a bead box, and all of that information is on my beginner's channel. So if you're not familiar with it, it's GGC's Beginning Beaters, and you can go over there and check it out. Now the beads that I'm using in this necklace today are on my website also. So if you don't have any, or if you just need to get some more, whatever, I will post a couple of links in the comments and in the information or the description box beneath the video player so that you can get some beads for this. And this is a really pretty necklace. I'm going to show you close up the units. It's just really pretty. I've done it in holiday colors. However, this would look really pretty in any color combination you wanted to do. I think black and white, or clear and black, or purple, pinks, anything. This is really, really, really pretty. All in green, all in red, whatever you wanted to do. I used kind of a silver sparkle here. This would be really pretty in any other color also. The clear AB or black or whatever. I have a bunch of colors of the 4mm rounds and of these 4x8 bicones on my website. Like I said, I'll post links. But this would be great in any color combination. But I've done it in color, in Christmas colors, and it turned out really pretty. I really like it. It hangs nice. And let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this particular necklace. For this project today, we will be using 15-0, 8-0, and 11-0 seed beads. And these are Toho galvanized permanent finish aluminum, so they're the silver tone. Then we will also be using some 4x8 bicone crystals. These are just an elongated bicone. And I'm going to be using green and red, and I'll need more than what's out here. I just have a few out right now. Then we will be using a 4mm round crystal. This is a 4mm round Chinese crystal, and I believe it's silver sparkle. Then I'll be using a couple of head pins. These are just little ball head pins, just to make a couple dangles on the end of my clasping. I will also be using a lobster claw clasp. This is about 12mm long, about 6mm wide, and that is just for your reference so that you know for your length of your necklace. I'm also using some jump rings. These are 6mm round jump rings, and I don't know how many I'm going to use, so I have about 6 of them out. I may make an extender on the end, so I will use several of them for that. And that's all, just depends on how you want to do that. Then I'm using 2 wire guardians, and I'm using small wire guardians. These are about probably 4mm from top to bottom, and about 3mm wide. I think they're size 1, but you can use whatever size you'd like. You can bend it to fit your end of your necklace, but I'm using a very small one. Then I'm using a size 12 beading needle, and you'll want to use a size 12, nothing larger, because we're going to travel through these beads a lot. We're using 15-0s, and it'll be difficult to travel through with a larger size needle. You will also want to use some 8 or 10 pound Nanofil. You want a very small but strong thread, so the diameter of Nanofil is much smaller than Fireline. However, you can use Fireline, but I would stick with a 4 or a 6 pound and nothing larger than that. We're going to start by putting a wingspan onto our needle. A wingspan is when you stretch your arms out from side to side, measure from the fingertips of one arm the length of that arm across your chest, the length of your second arm, and to the fingertips of that arm. That is a wingspan. We will have to extend the Fireline or Nanofil during this project, so if you do not know how, I will post a video in the description box below the video player so that you can reference that video and learn how to extend your thread. Let's go ahead and get started. To start this project, you're going to pick up an 11/0, an 8/0, an 11/0, and a 4mm round crystal. And then you're going to repeat that. 11/0, 8/0, 11/0, and 4mm round crystal. And then you're just going to bring these down to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but leave about 3 inches to hold on to. It's just going to make your life easier. Now, once you have gotten your beads down to the end, you're going to take your needle and run back through all of these beads from the tail side on out, just like that. Then hold on to all the beads, hold on to your tail, and pull your needle through. Once you get the majority of the thread through, then you're just going to bring your tail and your working thread together and pull them into a circle, just like that. Let me get you a little closer. Now we're going to take our tail and our working thread, and we're just going to tie an overhand knot and drag it down. Make sure the knot goes between the beads. That's just going to hold things steady for us. Then we're going to sew back through all of these beads. So I am coming out where my knot is. So I have to go into these seed beads here. So I'm going to go into all 3 of them and pull through. Then we're going to go through the crystal, and again through the seed beads on this side. Right here. It's hard to hold on to at this point, so my fingers are kind of covering it, but I'm just going through all the beads. Now I'm going through the crystal, and I'm all the way back around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my tail out of the way, and I'm going to sew into the 11/0 and the 8/0 behind it and exit the 8/0 seed bead right here. Now, what we're doing with this is basically 2 embellishments on both sides of the circle. So we're going to start in this 8/0 seed bead. I'm holding it so that my 2 crystals are on either side, so I can reference. I'm coming out of the right side of the 8/0 seed bead here. I'm going to pick up an 11/0, and then I'm going to pick up a crystal, a 4mm round crystal, and then I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead. Like this. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to cross over into the 8/0 on the other side of the unit. So we're going to go into the 8/0 opposite the one we're coming out of, into the right side, because we're coming out of the right side. So we'll just go directly into this 8/0, just like this, and just the 8/0. Then I'm just going to hold on to my entire unit between my thumb and my finger. I'm going to gently slide my thread through and pull that bead over the top of this little unit. Holding on to your tail is going to help a lot at this point. It gets easier once we have a little bit more to hold on to. Then we're going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and we're going to go back into the crystal so we can anchor the other half of the crystal. So just go into that crystal with your 11/0 on your needle and pull your thread through. give a little tug so that everything tightens up, and then we're going to go into the other side on top here. Sorry, it's hard to hold on to. So now I am coming out of the crystal. I've picked up another 11-0, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 that I'm attached to, that I started in. So I'm going to go into this side of this 8-0 and just the 8-0, and I'm going to bring this down. Then I'm going to place my thumb and finger together over the unit and give it a nice tug. It needs to be very tight, so all your beads need to have no slack whatsoever. Then we're going to turn this unit over. And you can see we have kind of a dish that formed. We're going to fill in the dish with another embellishment on this side from the two 8-0s. So what we're going to do is pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a 4mm round crystal, and an 11-0. And we're just going to go from this 8-0 into the same side, to the right side of this 8-0. Just pick up that 8-0 and put your unit between your fingers and just pull. Pop those beads on top of the unit, give it a little tug. Not too much, because then you distort it like I just did. Just like that. Now, I'm going to get you even closer so that you can see where I'm at. I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead. I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to anchor the other half of the crystal just like I did on the front of the unit. So I'm going to go into the crystal just like this. I'm going to place my thumb over it gently. Don't squeeze it because you don't want to distort it. Just place your thumb over it, guide your thread through, and pull a little bit, just like that. Now we need to anchor the top half. So we're going to pick up another 11-0, and we're going to go back into the 8-0 that we started in, right here. Just make sure you can identify the 8-0 and you don't go through any of those 11-0s. Pull this down and tighten it. Now you should have something that looks like a beaded bead, kind of. It looks kind of like a cubic right angle weave, but it's a lot easier. And now you can see how this 8-0 is kind of poked up. Right here, we're going to put a wire guardian on so that we can clasp this when we're done. So I'm going to stay in pretty close, and we are going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads. And I'm just going to drop them down to that 8-0. Just like that. And then I'm going to pick up my wire guardian. In my wire guardian, I'm going to go into one side of the guardian, just like this, and I'm going to pull my thread through quite a bit. And then I'm going to go into the other side of the guardian, just like this, put my thumb and my finger over it, and pull it down. Pull it down to the piece just by pulling on your working thread, just like that. If you put your thumb and your finger over it, you can guide your thread right into that divot and goes in really nicely. Now you can see I'm attached to this side of the 8-0 with my two 11-0s. I'm going to pick up two more 11-0s, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 here, right here, and pull this down. Now my tail has gotten involved here, so I'm going to pull it out, pull this in, and I'm going to cut this tail off, or at least down quite a bit. And we can burn that in later. But now you can see what I have. I am coming out of this 8-0, and I'm going to sew up into the 11-0s, around the wire guardian again, into the 11-0s, and back into the 8-0. And I'm going to do that twice. We're going to do that off camera, and when we come back, we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so I have secured my wire guardian. As you sew through, Just make sure that you put your thumb and your finger over it, so you'll come up through the 11 O's, come up through the wire guardian, and then go down through this side of the wire guardian, and just put your thumb and finger over it and guide your thread through so that it stays in the divot, just like we did earlier. Now, we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead right between the clasping area and the actual unit. We're going to go down into this 11/0 and into the crystal here. Then up into this 11/0 right above the crystal we're in, right here. And then into the 8/0 seed bead, right here. And pull your thread through. Now we're ready to start another unit, and we'll make the units exactly the same as we did, except for we're not going to have to put the clasping on the top. So what we're going to do, let me back up just a little here, is we're going to pick up an 11/0 and then a 4mm round crystal and an 11/0, and then an 8/0, an 11/0, a 4mm round crystal, come here, and an 11/0. So it's the same that we started with to make our loop. 11/0, crystal, 11/0, 8/0, 11/0, crystal, 11/0. Then we will come back into the opposite side of the 8/0 we're coming out of. So I'm coming out of this side of the 8/0 right here. I'm going to go into this side, just like this. It's kind of peaked up so you can see it. Just make sure that you distinguish it well from the 11/0s and that you do not go through any 11/0s. And then pull this down into a circle, just like this. Now it's going to stretch back out as we do this, but we're going to sew down to this 8/0 seed bead. So we're going to go through this 11/0 here, and the crystal, and the 11/0. On this side, I'm putting my thumb and my finger over it, and I'm just going to pull through until I tighten that circle back up, and then I'm going to go into this 8/0, and again, hold it between my fingers and pull. You want nice, good tension, no slack whatsoever. Then we will embellish the top of this like we did with the first unit, turn it over and embellish the back. So you're going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, a crystal, and an 11/0. Then we're just going to go into the same side of the bead we're coming out of. So this is the 8/0 we're coming out of this side. This is the 8/0 opposite. We're going to go into it. Just move your unit aside so you can see it well, and go into the same side that you're coming out of the opposite bead. And just pull the unit down. Give it a little tug. We're going to distort it, but you want it to be as tight as you can get it at this point. I'm going to try to get in a little closer just so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead and anchor the other half of the crystal. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to see if I can hold this a little better. I'm going to go into the crystal, and it's going to distort everything. That's okay. Once you get into that crystal, put your thumb over it. Then you can pull your thread through and gently give a little tug. And then pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and we're going to anchor this side of the bead to the 8/0. So we're already hooked to this side. Let's go into this side, right here. And again, I'm going to put my thumb and finger over it, pull it down. Then I just kind of push back on it and pull it all very tight. This has to be very tight, no slack whatsoever. Then we're going to turn over the piece, and we have a little dish here that we're going to fill in. So we are going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead. That's a 15/0. I got my 15/0s mixed in there. 11/0 and a crystal and an 11/0, just like this. And I'm going to try to stay in tight here. See if I can stay in camera. And you can see that you'll have an 11-0 and 11-0, and right in the middle of the two will be that 8-0. So you can find it and go right through it. Don't go through any of the 11-0s on either side. And then just pull your crystal down slowly and gently. Anchor it on top. Give it a little tug. And then bring your thread forward because it wants to fall behind the unit. Just bring it forward. Pick up an 11-0. And we're going to go through this crystal. And still, it's kind of difficult to hold on to. But that'll get better in the next unit. Go through the crystal. Pull the 11-0 down. Give a tug. And then let's anchor the other half. So pick up an 11-0 and go into the opposite side from which you started. Right here. Of the 11-0 on the bottom here. See if I can stay in camera. Now you have two little bubbly units. They're really cute. Now I'm going to back off a little. We'll do one more and then we'll do a few more off camera, and then we'll switch our stitch into using the longer bicones. But this is the back of the necklace, so we're going to have several of these units in the back. Let's do one more. Pick up an 11-0. Pick up a 4mm round. Pick up an 11-0, an 8-0, an 11-0, a 4mm round, and an 11-0. Just like that. Then we're going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we're coming out of. So we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into this side. And pull through. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to sew up into this 8-0. So we're going to go into this 11-0. Everything's going to get loose and weird, and that's okay. Go into the 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0. Hold on to your beads and pull. And then go through the 8-0 right here. Now we're going to embellish the top of this circle. So pick up an 11-0, a 4mm round, and an 11-0. Before you do anything, make sure your tension is tight. No slack in this little circle. You've got your 11-0, crystal 11-0. You're coming out of this side of this 8-0. We're going to go into this side of the 8-0 we're anchored to, right there. Bring this down and just tighten it. Pick up an 11-0 and let's anchor the other side of the crystal. So just go directly into the crystal right here. Put your thumb over it and pull. And then give a little tug. Pick up another 11-0 and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we're anchored to. So right down here, I'll go into this side. Just like this. I'm going to put my thumb and finger over it, and here I'm going to kind of push down on it and pull to make sure those 11-0s draw forward right on top of the bead and they're not laying all funny and loose. Now, if you have enough tension, you'll have a nice little bowl on the other side that you're going to fill in. So you're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a 4mm round, and an 11-0 seed bead, and then you're going to go into the opposite 8-0 on the same side that you're coming out of this one. Just like this. Pull this down. Turn. Pull your thread forward because it wants to fall back behind the unit. And then grab an 11-0 and anchor the other half of the crystal. So I'm just going to go back into my crystal. Put my thumb over it, hold on to it, give it a little tug. Pick up another 11-0 seed bead and go into the opposite side from which I started in my anchoring bead here. Just like that. Now, you're going to continue doing this until you have 7 units like this. So we're going to make 4 more off camera and then we'll come back. If you need to, just back up the video and watch the units over and over again until you get all the way to the end. So you can back up on the last one I made several times or whatever you'd like. And we'll be back. Okay, now I have made 7 units. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move into making units with my elongated bicones, and then I will make another unit like this. So we'll alternate the units. To make this unit is basically the same process, we just pick up a few more beads. So we're going to start with an 11-0. Get some of these out here. An 11-0. Then a 15-0. Then you're going to pick up a bicone crystal, and some of these, the little ends are kind of broken. Pull those aside and pick up one that isn't broken, and then pick up a 15-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0, and I'll show you what I have. Then we're going to repeat and pick up an 11-0, a 15-0, a bicone crystal, and then we're going to pick up a 15-0 and an 11-0. Let me show you what you have. I've started with my red. I'm using 2 colors. You can use just 1 color if you want, but I'm going to use 2. I have 11-0, 15-0, bicone crystal, 11 or 15-0, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, 15-0, bicone crystal, 15-0, 11-0. Just remember, on either side of your crystals, you'll have a 15-0. Then we're going to drop this down to the piece, and we're going to sew into the opposite side of the 8-0 that we're coming out of. So we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into this side and pull this down into a circle. Now we're going to sew down to this 8-0 seed bead. So go into the 11-0, and it's going to loosen up. Don't worry about it. Just go into the 11-0, the 15-0, the bicone crystal, 15-0, 11-0, pull down, and then go into the 8-0. Put your thumb and your finger over it as you come through the 8-0 and pull it tight so that it doesn't have any slack in it, just like this. Now you're going to pick up an 11-0, and you're going to pick up a bicone crystal of the other color if you're using 2. So I'm going to pick up a green one and my 11-0, just like this. And then we're going to slide into the same side of the opposite 8-0. So we're coming out of this 8-0 on this side, we're going to go into this 8-0. It's the same process. We'll embellish the front and the back. We're just using longer beads. Pull this down, and then pick up an 11-0 so we can anchor the other half of the crystal. So I've got an 11-0. I'm going to go into this side of the crystal this time, just like this. I'm going to put my thumb over it and pull gently. And then I'm going to pick up another 11-0 and anchor this side. So I'll go into the 8-0 on the opposite side from which I'm anchored to, just like this. Then I'm going to turn it over, make sure it's tight, turn it over, and we're going to embellish this side now. So we've got a long skinny dish now. We're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, we're going to pick up a green bicone and an 11-0 seed bead, and then we're going to go into the same side of the 8-0 that we're coming out of on this side. So we're going to find that 8-0. You can see that you have your 2 11-0s on either side. Go into this one. It's kind of recessed. Let's go into that right there and pull your crystal down. Guide it on top. Give a little tug, and let's anchor the other half. Pick up an 11-0. Go into the bicone crystal. Hold on to it and gently pull. Give a little tug, pick up another 11-0 seed bead onto your needle, and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 you're anchored to, right here. and pull. Now put your fingers on either side and just give it a little tug. And then just look at it, make sure it looks good. And it's a nice 3D look that we have here going on. Now we're going to make another one of these units. So we're going to pick up an 11-0, a round, an 11-0, an 8-0, an 11-0, a round, and an 11-0. So again, the same thing that we were doing earlier. Now we're anchored on this side. We're going to go through the opposite side, or we're coming out of that side. So we're going to go into the opposite side from which we're coming out. We're going to pull this down into a circle. We're going to go through all of these beads. Now we're coming out of the 8-0. So we've gone through the 11-0, the crystal, the 11-0, and the 8-0. We will pick up an 11-0. We'll pick up a round crystal and an 11-0. And we'll go into the 8-0 on this side. Tighten that a little, and I'm going to go into the 8-0 right here. And I'm going to pull this down. Guide it on top. Give it a little tug. Bring my thread back around, and then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and go through this crystal. And you see with some length it gets a little bit easier. And I'm going to pull my thread through, pick up an 11-0, and go through the 8-0 on the bottom here, on the opposite side from which I'm already attached. And then I'm just going to pull that down, kind of pull it all together, make sure it's nice and tight, turn it over. I've got my bowl again. We're going to do the same thing. Pick up an 11-0 and a crystal. Come here, crystal. And an 11-0 like this. And I'm coming out of this side of this 8-0. I'm going to find the 8-0 on this side. Make sure that I don't get through any of those 11-0s and pull. And I'm just going to push that up into place. Just like that. Then we are going to anchor this side of the crystal. So I'm going to go down into the crystal here. And then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and go through the opposite side of the 8-0 that I'm attached to. And pull this down. Make sure it's nice and tight, everything looks good, and that's what that looks like. Now we're going to make another unit like this, and we'll just continue making units like this, and then just alternating. So I'm going to extend my Fireline, or my Nanofil, excuse me, and then we'll make another unit like this, and we will continue. Okay, I have extended my my Nanofil, and you can see this little tiny knot here. It's easier if you extend before this unit instead of before this unit, because this unit doesn't have any 15-0s in it. So it's easier if you extend your Fireline when it's getting short right before you do one of these units. But since I did it before one of these units, I'm coming out of this 8-0, and I'm just going to sew around this unit again. So I'm going to go back into this 11-0 and crystal here. And that way I will pull my knot into beads that I'm not going to be passing through again. And I don't have to worry about it getting in my way. So now I'm sewing back up through that 8-0 in the middle. It's hard to see, but I'm sewing back up through that 8-0. And I'm just going to pull that knot in. And now I can come back down into this 11-0 and crystal. And then back down into this 11-0 and my 8-0 that in the direction that I left off, just like this. So now I can start my next unit. We'll do one more of these on camera, and then we'll alternate doing this unit, then this unit, and so on and so forth. And I will show you exactly how many we will make. So let's pick up an 11-0, a 15-0. This time I'm going to use the green crystals on the outside because I used the red crystals on the outside last time. So I'll pick up my green crystal first, and then I will pick up my 15-0, and then I will pick up my 11-0, then an 8-0, 11-0, 15-0, green crystal, 15-0, and 11-0. And this is what you have. 11-0, 15-0, crystal, 15-0, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, 15-0, crystal, 15-0, 11-0. So it's the same units, we're just adding 15 O's on either side of the crystals. Now we're going to drop this down, and then we're going to go into the other side of the 8-0 that we are attaching to, just like this. Now we're going to sew down into the 11-0, the 15-0, the crystal, the 15-0, and then I will go into this 11-0 and 8-0 and exit the 8-0 right here. And pull like this. Make sure your unit doesn't have any slack in it. And then you're going to pick up an 11-0, and this time I'm going to use a red crystal. So I'm just alternating. When I do my first loop, if I did it in red, the next time I'll do it in green, and then the next time I'll do it in red, so that my colors kind of alternate on the outsides of the unit. Now I'm picking up an 11-0, a crystal, and an 11-0. And I'm coming out of this side of my 8-0, so I'm going to go into this side of the 8-0 that I'm attached to, just like this. And I'm going to pull this down. And then again, pick up an 11-0, go up through this crystal, just like that. I'm going to pull it through, give a little tug. Then I'm going to pick up another 11-0, and I'm going to go through the opposite side of the 8-0 that I started in, right there, and pull it down. Now I'm going to tighten it so that it kind of domes, turn it over, pick up an 11-0, pick up a red crystal and an 11-0, and I am coming out of this right side of this 8-0. I'm going to go into the right side of this 8-0 down here. Just identify it, make sure you're getting that and only that bead, and pull through. Push it on top. Bring your thread around, pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and go through the crystal right here. Give a little tug, and then pick up an 11-0 seed bead and go through the opposite side of the bead we started in. Don't get the 11-0s on either side, and pull. Give this a nice little tug, and that's what that looks like. Let's get you real close so you can see the units and how pretty they are. And this makes a really, really pretty necklace. So now you're going to go ahead and make another unit of the round, and then again you'll make another unit of the bicones. And just remember, if your green ones are on the outside, on the previous unit, your next one, the red ones will be on the outside, and so on and so forth. Continue doing that until you have 39 units. And I'm counting from the very first unit, and I'm counting all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like that. And Then, once you have your 39 units, I have ended on a round unit. We are just going to begin doing 6 more round units so that this end will look like that end. So now that you have finished all of your bicone units, you've made 1 round unit, go ahead and make 6 more round units so that it is exactly the same on either side of the necklace. This is going to make about a 19-inch necklace. If you want a longer necklace, you'll make more of these units, and then when you're satisfied with that length of the bicone units, then add your 6 extra or your 7 on the end. Just make sure you have 7 on the end. You can make as many of these units as you want or as few. This is going to be about a 19-inch necklace. If you make a 16-inch necklace, you can always put an extender because we will have the availability to add chain or jump rings or whatever on our wire guardians. So you can make whatever length you want. I have made 39 units in total. And now I'm going to make 6 more of the round. Once we've made 6 more of the round, we'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, I have finished my 7 units on the back of the necklace here. And this is going to be, right now, it measures right at 18 inches. Once I put my clasping on, I'll get a little bit more length. But that's what this measures now, is 18 inches. So that'll let you know, if you want to, you could even make more of these units towards the back. So you could get length that way if you don't want to make more of these units inside this area, making your length. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our wire protector on this side, and then we'll tie off, and then we'll add with our jump rings our clasping. So let's go ahead and pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. We're coming out of the 8-0 seed bead here after making our last unit, right here. And we're going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads onto our needle, and then go through the wire guardian on one side, just like this, and pull it down to the 8-0. And then I'm going to go through the other side. Then I'm going to put my thumb over it, put my thumb and my finger together. Second, I went through a 11-0. There we go. And just pull this down, guiding that thread into the divot on the top by holding the wire guardian. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads onto my needle, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 that I'm attaching to. And I'm just going to pull this over like this. Then I'll sew back through this again. So I'll sew up through these 2, through the wire guardian, hold on to it, sew back down into this side, and the 2 11-0s. I'll hold on to the wire guardian, pull my thread through, and then through the 8-0. Do that one more time and we'll be back. Okay, so I have secured my ending, and what I'm going to do now is I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead, make sure everything's tight and looks good, and then I am going to go down into this 11-0 right on the other side of the 8-0, right there, right in one of the embellishment 11-0s here. Then down into this 11-0 and down into the 8-0 that's connecting the 2 units. And I'm just going to find a thread bridge right here that's between the units here. So between the 8-0 and the 11-0 here, I'm just going to go under that thread bridge, and I'm going to make a loop and tie a knot. Just make sure that you don't get a thread bridge crossed. Don't get your threads crossed to the point to where your units are attached to each other. You want to make sure that you are between the beads, between the units. And you'll see what I mean when you're doing it. Now we're going to go down into this 11-0 here, down into this crystal. I'm just going to move away from my knot, and find an 11-0 here to go through that's attached to the crystal for the embellishment. I'm just going to go through that. So you're just sewing through your beads. Just make sure you don't cross your threads. Go in your original thread path. And let's just tie one more knot here. I've gone through the 8-0. There's an 11-0 right next to that 8-0. I'm going to go under just that 11-0's thread bridge here. If I can get it. Right there. Make sure I didn't grab that 11-0. I just want the thread bridge between the 8-0 and the 11-0. I don't want to pull through and get another thread bridge because then it'll pull my unit off. And pull a knot down. Then I'll go down into this 11-0, this crystal right beneath it, into this 11-0 and the 8-0 that's attaching the two units. And then I'm just going to cut my thread off really close to that 8-0. Right there. And now I'm tied off and I can just add jump rings and my clasping. Okay, so to add my clasp, I've gone ahead and found a little bit smaller jump ring for the side to attach my lobster claw. It's about a 4mm round jump ring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my jump ring on one side of the opening, so the opening's right here, and then I'm going to grab another pair of pliers and open this by twisting it. Put it on my lobster claw clasp, and then I'm just going to put it on my wire guardian and close it by twisting it the same way that I opened it. Make sure it's closed very tightly and shimmy it a little bit. And then I'm just going to connect some of these together, doing the same thing, and put them on this side. Okay, so I have decided to put 5 jump rings on there. And now I'm going to make a little dangle to put off the end one. You can make 2 dangles, whatever you want. I think I'm just going to make 1 though. I'm going to use the round crystal. You could use one of your bicones if you want to. And I've just put it on the head pin. I'm placing my round nose pliers right up against that bead, and I am bending the wire over the top of the plier, which I'm holding parallel to the bead mat. And then I'm going to turn my plier vertical into that bend that I created, and I'm going to bring the wire over the top. And as I come around, I'll bring my wrist towards me and bring the wire underneath the plier and make a loop like this. And it's kind of one-sided, so I'm just going to bend it over a little bit like this to this side. And then I can grab a hold of this. I'm going to switch my hands, bring this wire up parallel to the pliers, and then I am going to just grab my round nose and start wrapping this. Until I'm satisfied with the wrap. And then I'll get my little cutters here and cut this off. Grab my chain nose pliers and tuck in the little tail that I left. Gently, you don't want to break your bead. And once you get that tucked in, then you can just open this last jump ring and drop that on there. So I'll just find my openings and twist it open, drop it on, and then I'll close it again. Okay, I think it's closed, maybe not. Okay, And that is what my little end looks like. So all I was doing was shimming it shut if I was out of camera, just closing the jump ring. Everyone on this channel should know how to do that anyway. So that's what my ends look like. I have a nice little extender, and you can make that extender as long as you want. And let me rearrange everything and I'll show you what this necklace looks like. And this is what the finished project looks like, and I think it looks pretty darn good. It's really pretty, hangs nice, looks good on the neck. And if you cannot get your hands on any of these crystals, like I said, I have a whole bunch of them in a whole bunch of colors, and this would look great. Doesn't have to be Christmas themed. Black and white would look pretty. Clear crystal and pink or purple, or any color combination would look really pretty with this particular design. I just did this for holiday color wise, but it'll look great with any color. And if you can't get your hands on these, and because I don't ship internationally at this point, then you can use some rice pearls. Most people have some of them in their stash. This particular rice pearl is about 7 millimeters long and about 4 millimeters wide. You can get them 6 millimeters long. That's fine too, just as long as they're rice shaped and they're somewhere in the general measurement of 4 wide and 8 long, because that's what these are. They're 4 by 8s. So something like that will work just fine in this particular pattern too. So you can use that also. And I do have some of these just in white, like this strand that I have on my website, and I will post a link to those also if you're interested in that, because that does look really pretty on here. So anyway, that's the necklace that I've made today. I have no idea what I'm going to call it, so I'm not going to tell you what it is right now because I don't know, but I'll think about that in the intro. I'll know a name. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you later. Bye-bye.